Okay, so I'm going to get ready to do a knit two together row, a decrease row, a knit two together across. So mine looks kind of different from yours because it starts out with the herringbone and then I switch to the stock knit stitch up here. It might be hard to see. I'm going to try to go slow. I am recording on my computer in my bedroom because they're doing remodeling in the kitchen and it's kind of loud. So I'm hoping that you're not going to hear any noises. So the first thing you do, I'm holding this at a weird angle to get to the camera. So knit two, one, two, and then knit two together. So I'm going into both of these two stitches. Push through, pull them both off together in one. And then you just keep doing that all the way across the row. So I'm going to go faster so we can get to the next. I have a lot more stitches than you do because you're using a much thicker yarn than I am. So knit two together, knit two, knit two together. I don't know if there's a way I can pause this while I'm going so you don't have to watch all of this. I don't think so, so you'll have to bear with me. Knit two together. Knit two. Sorry this is boring because I don't have just few stitches. Knit two together. I feel like I'm holding it at a strange angle to get it in front of the computer so my hands can't work as quick as usual. Ugh. Okay, so now your next row said, I think it said purl one, purl two together. I don't usually do that, but I think in this instance I'm going to. So I'll show you it slow the first time or two. Purl one, then you take two, put your needle through two of them, which I can't do at this angle. Ugh, sorry. I guess I knit that one too tight. So purl two together and then pull them both off. Then you just keep doing that across the row. Purl one. I'm going to have to hold this way to do this. Purl two together. Purl one. Purl one. Oh, and there's the construction noise, sorry. Purl two together. Purl one. 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 Sometimes I get crazy and my yarn gets all tangled up on my needle like it is right now. It's a hot mess, sorry. That's what happens when I try to go quickly because I'm recording myself. Make a nice little tangle. Loosen up some of my yarn here. Okay, what did I end on? Purl two together, I think. So purl one. Purl two together. 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 purl 1, purl 2 together. I wouldn't worry if you don't end on having the right amount of stitches at the end. Really, you're just decreasing to get them off your needle, so it doesn't really matter. This last row, we're just going to knit 2 together all the way across. So you just take 2 needles or 2 stitches and knit them together over and over till you get to the end. So got those 2. I tend to knit tight, so sometimes it makes it hard to move fast. I need to learn to loosen up on the tension a bit because I think it strains my hands, makes things go a little slower. It'd be better if I were a little more loose. I'm going to end up with a lot more than just 8 stitches left like your pattern says, but that's because I think you said you started with 30 or 32 and I started with, I think, 64. Because this herringbone crosses over on itself, it takes a lot more stitches to get the width of the bonnet that you need. Generally, I look to get about a 10-inch wide bonnet. Sometimes I even like it a little bit smaller than that if it's a stretchy stitch, because I'd rather have my bonnet be snug than loose fitting. Okay, so I have roughly 10 or 12 stitches there. I'm going to take my yarn and cut it like not too far away, but we're going to cut it maybe here. Doesn't really matter. Then I have, I don't know what you call this. I just call it a yarn needle. Thread that through just a little bit. So then I slip all of these stitches off and onto this needle. So I'm taking this piece, and going through this way, taking them off one by one. Sorry that I'm a little slow at this. You'll only have 8 stitches, so it'll go quicker. Oh, this last one. Okay. So then, after I take it and pull it through, it's all just on that little piece of thread, and I pull it through tight to kind of cinch it together. So now you can kind of see this is the back of the bonnet. Now I want it to be, your bonnet's going to lay flat this way, so you want to pull that tight so it's the back. Generally, I'm thinking your pattern makes it sound like you end there, but I don't like to have this whole back side open. I like to seam it together for at least this much, and by seaming it I just mean like sewing it. So the very first thing I'm going to do is take this, I cut this yarn so I had extra to be able to seam up this little bit, and so now I'm just going to stitch up this last little bit of the bonnet together, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I go along the edge and just seam it together. I'll look for a YouTube video on how you do an invisible seam, because that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not perfect at it, so it's not completely invisible, but you try to go into the middle of the loops here and get 2, I don't know if you can see how I got 2 little 1, 2 things, and then you pull across that way and then go to the other side and do the same thing. It helps hide your seam. And so now you can kind of see where my decrease was, that this little circle is those last stitches that I pulled off and pulled tight through this, and I've seamed up just maybe a 1/2 inch. I'm going to go another stitch or 2 further. My cat just jumped on the bed because she hates the construction noise. Okay, and now that I'm done with that, I just flip it inside out to tie off this tie off this little yarn I have that I use to stitch. Do it once or twice, and then you can weave in the ends, but this one being on the inside, you don't really see it as much. So I usually, after I've knotted it twice, just cut it really close, and then I'm done. So then all I have to do with this is use string, and I make 2 ties, put them on either end of this, and then sometimes I block, but with an acrylic yarn like this, it's hard to block, but I can answer more questions if you want. So this is the rainbow bonnet that I just made. The front curls slightly because of the stitch, but because I made it a little snugger, when you tie it under the baby's chin, it should straighten it out. But I am going to try to block it, which blocking it basically means getting it wet and letting it air dry in the shape that you want it to be. So I'm going to get it wet and let it air dry over a styrofoam ball to try to get it to not curl and to stay that shape. Okay, I'm done. Say hi real quick so you can see me. Hi!